Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Tutuzile Ramela. Here are the stories we're tracking for you this evening. A High Court judge casts a doubt on the testimony of the woman accused of kidnapping Zephany Nurse. Angry protesters turn on provincial leaders trying to calm tensions in iSithebe, KwaZulu-Natal. To comment on any of our stories, do find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct. Our hashtags this evening, Zephany Nurse and Flabber. And it's not looking good for the woman on trial for the kidnapping of Zephany Nurse. Judge John Hlophe is handing down his verdict tomorrow, but he has already cast doubt on the accused version of events.
Judge John Hlophe hasn't minced his words after hearing the accused testimony. He told her he'd been listening to her lies for days. The 51-year-old woman has pleaded not guilty to kidnapping Zephany Nurse 18 years ago. She told the court she paid 3,000 rand to a woman called Sylvia, who had then handed the baby to her at a train station. She claims she received Zephany Nurse's birth certificate in the post 6 years later. But the judge has been critical of her testimony, saying she had no proof to back it up. In its closing arguments, the state pushed for the accused to be found guilty on all 3 counts. It claims she lied to the police about the kidnapping, that the birth certificate is fraudulent, and that she had contravened the Children's Act. The defense has argued that prosecutors failed to prove the accused was at Grooterskloof Hospital at the time of the kidnapping, which makes her version of events plausible. Zephany Nurse's biological family says they're glad the saga is finally coming to an end.
We're quite happy as a family, so we'll have to wait for judgment, and that's it.
The family says it has full confidence the judge will make the right decision.
That is for a judge to decide a cause. They know the rule of the country, the constitution of the country, and he should do and abide to the law and the constitution.
The accused is expected to learn her fate on Thursday morning. Bonga Dlulane, Western Cape High Court.
Now, when the Zephany Nurse kidnapping story broke, we brought you the first interview with her biological parents. Celeste and Morne Nurse were hoping that once they had their daughter back after 18 years, their lives would be complete. But it's been a hard year for Zephany and her parents, as well as the man who brought her up as his own. He claims he had no idea Zephany was not his biological child until the Hawks revealed the truth in February last year. She has chosen to continue living with him. Now, for the first time, the accused and her husband speak out.
Do you regret not telling your husband how you got Zephany in the first place and about the miscarriage?
I do regret it. Even last year I regretted when he told me he want to stand 100% with me, and then my thoughts said, why didn't you tell him long time? But I didn't, as the two of them grow so close, I don't want to break that bond. And she was so overwhelmed. She go to high school, and mommy about the matric ball, and I promised, I said, Lord, when she's finished with the matric, I promise you I will tell them.
Is it something that weighed on your shoulders for a long time?
It was a heavy weight, and last year when it opened, I was relieved. I was really relieved.
Just want to apologize for the Nurse family what they went through, because I know their family members. When they know me, I know them. I used to go there to their house and being friends with them.
Not knowing that Zephany was their child.
But yes, I knew about the child. It was because we all lived in the same area, and I knew about. And I just want to apologize to them for what they went through. But everyone that knows me of their family, I'm sorry for what happened. And I've taken care of her, but I'm really sorry what happened. I hope you can forgive us and we can be friends and family again.
Sindisiwe Manqele has been described as a tragic figure who lost many close relatives in quick succession. It's exactly a year since the 26-year-old killed her rapper boyfriend Nkululeko Flaba Habedi. She has already been found guilty of his murder and faces 15 years behind bars. But arguments in mitigation have called for correctional supervision.
Sindisiwe Manqele cuts a lonely figure in the dock A picture also painted by a clinical psychologist called to testify in pre-sentencing procedures. The clinical psychologist has told the court that Manqele has had a difficult past following the deaths of her parents, siblings and grandmother, and appears to have a history of obsessive romantic relationships. While Manqele may have anxiety issues, they are not enough for her to be diagnosed as mentally unstable. The psychologist says Manqele is remorseful and prison would not be an ideal place for her.
The chief take responsibility to the effect that she used excessive force. That in the circumstances, her actions were not justified.
I wouldn't say that, no.
A correctional officer has told the court that Manqele is a suitable candidate for correctional supervision, while a criminologist says she can still be rehabilitated.
Although Ms. Manqele deserves to be punished for her actions, it is also in the best interest of society that beyond being punished, she has an opportunity to once again become a functioning member of society.
But a year later, it's evident that Habedi's death still cuts deep.
Abu Tugulek was a breadwinner of the family. He was the head of the family. Now I have to be in his shoes, and which is very hard.
Murder carries a minimum sentence of 15 years in South Africa, and arguments in mitigation as well as aggravation of sentence are expected to be heard when court resumes on Thursday. Bongiwa Kumalo, Pamridge Magistrates Court.
Intervention by politicians to calm angry protesters in iSithebe and KwaZulu-Natal has failed. Provincial tripartite alliance leaders visited the area today after 2 days of rioting there. Residents are unhappy about service delivery and the selection of traditional as well as municipal leaders. However, the community refused to listen to them, forcing the officials to leave soon after their arrival.
Community members braved the rain for several hours, awaiting the arrival of the provincial leaders of the ANC, SACP and COSATU. This area on KwaZulu-Natal's north coast has been marred by service delivery protests this week, which left several factories and vehicles torched. Furthermore, some 120 locals have also been arrested. But officials battled to get a word in, the crowd calling for the release of their neighbors. The leaders make a hasty retreat, promising to return.
We are still going to meet the representatives of the community. We discuss with them, and it will only be then that we will determine when we are going to address those people, whether today or tomorrow or anywhere.
Things go awry when the residents find out the meeting isn't happening. The police are quick to react. The situation in iSithebe remains volatile, but the provincial ANC is adamant it'll bring it under control soon. Desantathia, iSithebe, KwaZulu-Natal.
Quick look at world news now, and there have been mixed reports of fatalities from a car bombing that targeted a police building in the Somali capital of Mogadishu. Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility, saying at least 10 police officers were killed, but police say 3 officers died. The Islamist group has been intensifying its attacks recently in a bid to topple the Western-backed government. North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un says his scientists have developed miniature nuclear warheads that are small enough to fit onto ballistic missiles. Kim has stepped up his threats after the UN imposed some of its toughest sanctions in response to the North conducting a 4th nuclear test and launching a satellite which broke existing sanctions. And millions of people across Indonesia and the Pacific have experienced a total solar eclipse. With the moon blocking the sun, parts of the region were plunged into complete darkness for up to 3 minutes, while Australia and Asia experienced a partial eclipse. Let's take a look at what's hot on social media. And the Fees Must Fall movement has been named as the newsmaker of 2015 by the National Press Club. It took the award not only because of all the media interest locally and internationally, but also because of the tangible impact it had on university campuses around the country. And moving on, there's been no decision to send any military elements to assist with the fight against Boko Haram in Nigeria. That's according to the SANDF. There were conflicting reports about what the SANDF's role would be, especially off the back of President Jacob Zuma's visit. Remember, for these stories and more, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or head on over to our website. That's enca.com/direct. Welcome back. Money matters now, and South Africa remains 2 levels above junk status as Moody's places the country under review. Officials from the agency will be in the country next week to assess whether to affirm the current ratings or to downgrade.
Government's measures to avoid yet another credit downgrade are under scrutiny. Ratings agency Moody's has placed South Africa's economy under review, an evaluation that could see the country being relegated to 1 level above non-investment grade or junk status.
We are highly dependent on foreigners buying our bonds and shares in order to plug that hole in foreign exchange. And if we don't get that money coming in, then all that will happen is the rand will fall further, inflation will increase more sharply, interest rates will then have to rise further. Government will have to spend more on interest payments than being able to spend on education, healthcare, social grants and the like.
Moody's says the country's rating could weaken if government's policies and strategies don't show signs of reversing the high debt levels. At the same time, a further drop in confidence will also spark a downgrade. Moody's sees local economic growth sliding to 0.5% this year. It says the drought, low commodity prices and global market volatility have weakened the economy. The ratings agency is expected to announce its review results in June. Arabile Kumete, Johannesburg.
And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center now. Here's Joel Guy.
Hello and welcome to the Weather Center. Over the past 24 hours, we had thundery downpours pounding the eastern half of the country, and on Thursday, eastern South Africa will stay with very unsettled weather with scattered to widespread thunderstorms still possible for Gauteng, Limpopo, Mpumalanga and parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Over the western areas, light rain is forecast for the south coast. Otherwise, it's going to stay mostly sunny across much of the western interior. Now, here's a look at the chance of you seeing wet weather coming your way on Thursday. Up to an 80% chance of thunderstorms is forecast across Mpumalanga, Limpopo and parts of Gauteng. The chance of precipitation decreases as we go further south and westwards, and a 40% chance of rain is forecast for parts of the south coast. Now, KwaZulu-Natal is going to stay mostly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms and rain in most areas. Warmer afternoon temperatures, Durban, Port Shepstone and Pietermaritzburg all peaking at around 28 degrees. We are expecting thunder showers across much of the Eastern Cape. Light rain around Port Elizabeth, where a warm 27 is forecast for the top temperature. Light rain is also forecast around the Garden Route, spilling into Bredasdorp. Mostly sunny skies as we go towards the western areas of the Western Cape, where Cape Town warms up to around 26 degrees. Clear skies are set to continue for much of the Northern Cape. Upington hitting the 36-degree mark, a bit cooler with partly cloudy skies as we go towards Kimberley. We are going to have passing showers across much of the Free State, Bloemfontein and Welkom, reaching highs of around 30 degrees. Isolated thunder showers are also forecast for the northwest, Mahikeng peaking at 31, cooler as we go towards Zeerust and Rustenburg. It's going to be mostly cloudy with thundery downpours for much of the Limpopo province. Polokwane peaking at 23 degrees. We are also expecting heavy thunderstorms for much of the Mpumalanga province. Mbombela warms to around 25 degrees. Similar weather is forecast for the bulk of Gauteng, 24 for the high in Pretoria. We are going to stay with very wet weather across the eastern parts of South Africa on Friday. Light rain is forecast along the south coast, and a wet Saturday is forecast for the eastern half of the country.
Thank you, Joel. Here's what's coming up after the break. The music that influenced the civil rights movement in the US becomes a hit on stage. Entertainment news now, and the South African Film and Television Awards have new special categories meant to ensure diversity.
Interesting. And the man named as the most successful music producer ever, George Martin, has died.
Let's take a look at these and other stories making entertainment news, rather.
New special recognition categories have been introduced to the 2016 South African Film and Television Awards. This is to strengthen diversity. The awards recognize individuals, groups, or initiatives that have contributed to the growth and development of the industry in underserviced areas. The National Film and Video Foundation says it took into consideration people with disabilities. The SAFTES will be held at Midrand's Gallagher Estate from the 18th to the 20th of March. Beatles legendary producer Sir George Martin has died. Often referred to as the fifth Beatle, Martin died aged 90. During his 6-decade music career, Martin produced almost all of the Beatles' recordings. And finally, Motown has officially premiered in London. The popular musical first opened in New York's Broadway in 2013 and was well received by audiences. The show's producer is confident it will do well.
UK is fabulous. We have so many great members here.
Motown has been credited with influencing US culture during the civil rights era.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. A High Court judge casts a doubt on the testimony of the woman accused of kidnapping Zephany Nurse. Angry protesters turn on provincial leaders trying to calm tensions in iSithebe, KwaZulu-Natal. And that's a wrap from the eNews Direct team.
It is indeed. Until next time, good night.